tell me a little bit about the first question. Why are you running?
Well, it's certainly not something I planned to do. In fact, it wasn't even on my radar screen 2 months ago. But with everything going on in the county, with all of the chaos, I guess, and inexperience and waste of taxpayer dollars, and the divisiveness that's happened, I know I have the experience to come in and help. Not only dealing with the legal affairs and the other stuff that's going from a technical standpoint, but maybe even more importantly, I'm in a position to hopefully help heal the community and bring us back together again for the sake of our community. That's what I really hope to do.
What are your priorities or your platform?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a platform, but I do have some priorities, right? So, like I just mentioned, my top priority is to unite the community as best we can, to stop the divisiveness, to treat people with more respect, to give everybody, to treat people with the dignity that I think they deserve, regardless of their views on anything, frankly. But then, then to bring, I'm a fiscal conservative, so I want to make sure we're working within a budget, but we're being prudent about it. We're being helpful, that those that particularly in need get serviced and not cut out because of who they might be, or what they might look like, or what their views might be. I want to bring fair representation to the entire community as I can.
Why should I more or less? It sounded like you pretty much answered these questions or this question already within your past couple of responses. Why should people vote for you?
So I think that what we've seen in the county, particularly, is a lack of experience in handling governmental affairs. But I've been an attorney for 38 years. I represented the city of Hudsonville for over 20. I represented multiple school districts in West Michigan. I've served on many leadership boards and served in leadership capacities. I clearly have the experience to do the work of the county. I've done a lot of municipal work. I understand. I don't know everything, but I do have. I've been a mediator for the courts. I litigated. I understand litigation. So there's not much that I've watched with the county over the last year, technically, that I have not already done in my career. So I know I have the technical abilities to do the work. And so while this wasn't on my planned agenda to do it, I know I have the skill sets to do it. And I'm going to take a stand to try to do it.
Okay, tell me about you personally. Like, what are some hobbies that you like to do? What do you like to go out to eat, place, or go visit? Tell me a little bit about you personally.
So, I retired from the active practice 2 years ago, but I'm not bored. I do a lot of hospice work. I'm chairman of Emmanuel Hospice of Grand Rapids, but more importantly, I do just volunteer hospice work. That's a priority to me. But hobbies, I'm a honeybee keeper. I love to hunt. I love wood. I love to build things. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I love hunting. I love sports activities. I'm not one to sit around. So yeah, and I love being with people. I have an inherent trust in people. I'm not naive about it, but I believe in the goodness of people, and I just enjoy being with people. So, I like. You're right. I mean, you talk about restaurants. I like to eat, so I don't like to cook so much, but I like to eat. But I guess that's really it. I'm not bored with what I do. I've got a lot of hobbies, and a lot of interests. And I make wine. I press wine. I grow. I get grapes. I press them. But honeybees right now are probably the most fun things that I'm doing these days.
Interesting. How could people get in touch with you?
So, we have a campaign website. It's john@johnteeples.com. It's John at John Teeples. That's the website, john@johnteeples.com. So you can find me through my website. That's the easiest way at this point. And frankly, I have a Gmail address to the campaign. I can't remember what it is. So the best way is work through the website or on Facebook. I mean, that's what we're there.
Sure. You pretty much, I think you probably have answered this over the course of our interview. What are your thoughts over the past 2 years of Ottawa County government?
I'm disappointed. It's not what I expected. I voted. I've been a lifetime Republican. I voted for the representative in this District 7 to the county commission 2 years ago. But how it played out is not at all what I would have expected from Ottawa County leaders. We've got a divisiveness in this county, in our community that never existed 2 years ago. We've got imprudent decisions and inexperienced decisions, and in some cases, revenge motivated decisions that have cost our county not only financially, but by reputation. I hear this time and time again, we're a laughing stock throughout the whole country. Our children don't want to be here. They don't want to come here. I'm hearing this time and time and time again. And all these lawsuits that we've been dealing with should never have happened. If there had been prudent, thought through decisions by this Ottawa Impact Group, we would have avoided all those lawsuits. I had my own practice for over 21 years. None of my clients were ever sued, because you strategize when you want to make difficult decisions. You don't just impulsively act. And then when you want to fire people, you do it prudently. And then when you want to replace them, you find the best and the most experienced replacement candidates. That didn't happen here. The people that get hired were hired and still continue to be hired based on their allegiance to the ideologies of Ottawa Impact. And that's just not how you run a county government. There's 300, almost 400,000 people in this county that need representation. And as elected officials, our job is to represent them, everybody. And what I've seen over the last year and a half has been a major disappointment, particularly as a Republican. Would never have expected it.
All right, those are pretty much all the questions I'll be asking at least every candidate. Now to kind of follow up on some of the responses that I got from those questions, you explained in my first question that you have the experience. What experience are you referring to?
So just to give an example, I merged as an attorney for the city of Hudsonville, I merged the Hudsonville Police Department with the Sheriff Department of Ottawa County. I negotiated 16 years of contracts between the union members of the city and management. I had over 300 plus business clients, and over 1,000 overall clients. I've drafted hundreds, if not thousands, of contracts over the years. I've mediated multiple lawsuits. I litigated across the country at one time, and mediated for the Kent County Circuit Court. So, and it just goes on. I've served in, like I mentioned, in many capacities in leadership. I served as president of the Genesee Chamber of Commerce. Then I merged that chamber with the Granville Chamber of Commerce and ultimately became its president. I've stood up in this community and endorsed and advocated for a long-term strategic plan for the township so that we could, as a township, grow with proper forethoughts. I've done a lot of stuff. And when I talk about, there's nothing that happened at the county level, on the board level last year that surprised me, because I understand it. I don't know all the nuances of all the stuff happening in the county, but personnel, I've given seminars on how to handle personnel matters over the years. So I have a ton of experience. to help the county. And I'm bringing that experience to the table.
There was another answer you gave to one of my questions. You described you were disappointed. Um, and then over the past couple of years, you've been disappointed. What were you referring to when you said you were disappointed?
So on January 3rd, 2023, Ottawa Impact took majority control of the Ottawa County Commission. Prior to that first meeting, just as an example, 6 of those Ottawa Impact candidates who got elected met privately and came up with a strategy on how they were going to handle day one. And they didn't tell even 2 of their own people that they ran with during the campaign that they were going to do this. But what they did is they came into that first meeting, and they, without any notice to the public, changed the agenda of that meeting and then started down a path that has led us to where we are today. They fired on the spot John Shea, the administrator for the county. They fired the attorney of record who'd been there for 40 years. He was going to retire, but he was willing to work and continue to work until a transition could be made. They hired John Gibbs, who had no experience with municipal government at the time. They hired the Coleman Law Firm, who also had no attorney of record at that time in municipal law. They tried to fire the health director, who they blamed for their shutdown of their school during COVID, and she had nothing to do with it. And they changed the county motto without any public vetting or input, all on their very first meeting. All of those things have led us to these lawsuits. They've divided the township, and none of that needed to happen. When they're changing agendas without the public even knowing about it, or even some of the 2 people that campaign with them knowing about it, to me, I would have fired them as a client the next day. And I've done that with a client before who was 50% of my billings when they violated ethics. They didn't violate the Opens Meeting Act when they did that, when they came out and changed. It was no violation of law. But in my mind, they created a complete distrust to the public. They did a disservice to the public. They did exactly, as soon as they got into power, did exactly what Republicans have complained about with Democrats for years. As soon as they got power, they disenfranchised the public because they thought they knew more than anybody else. To me, that's unacceptable, and we've now gone down this whole path now for a year and a half, and we're still paying for it, and we have a long way to go. The John Gibbs lawsuit is just another example that should have never happened in the first place. So that's what I talk about disappointments, because these were elected officials, elected Republican officials who, like I said, I voted for, who acted this way when they got in power, and that's just not acceptable. And that's why it's disappointing, because now we are sitting here today, a year and a half later, with $1 million plus in attorney fees and settlement costs, and we've got a divided community and a divided Republican Party that's never happened before, and it's a sad state.
You in that last response, you were describing that they all met. Are you under the assumption that they met, or do you have proof that they met
Oh,
before?
no, they definitely met. That's not a question of, there's no question about that. Even the Michigan Attorney General investigated it at the time, concluded there's no violation of the law, and I think she said it was a distrust, or something about the distrust of the public. So the fact is, it happened, but it wasn't unlawful. But to me, it was unethical, and so I agree with the Attorney General on it.
That pretty much has summed up every question I have at this moment. Is there anything else you would like to add in, John?
So the big thing is, I've walked a good part of our township now, and what people really want, they want common sense decision making. That's been pretty clear, but they want this divisiveness to stop. They want our community to heal. We have neighbors that aren't talking to neighbors because of this fear of Ottawa Impact, and I don't use that term lightly. I mean, it's genuine. This has got to end. We've got to stop the name calling. We got to be more civil to each other. I've been talking and preaching every speech I have about being more civil to each other. And leaders need to lead the way towards civility and stop the name calling, because all that is divisive, and it's cheap. It's a cheap way of to dehumanizing another individual by name calling. We don't need to do this. We can be better, and we can set a model. So if we've got a national reputation that's been tarnished this last couple of years, we don't have to follow the national trend on politics with divisiveness and name calling. We can be much better than that. We can set the trend about how civil we should be during our campaigns. And we begin by not telling untruths about each other and calling people's names. We deal with the facts. And just like any lawsuit, we just deal with the facts. We can have different opinions and still get along. We've got to go back to that same process, and that's what the people want. And man, I sure hope I can help in that process.